Hello and welcome. I'm Enigmus, and this is episode 32 of the Ultimate Feed the Beast Reloaded. Today, we are assembling the Mega Creeper. Finally, all of the components will fit into place. It's not like the jigsaw puzzle, it's more like blocks, stacking them on one another. So as part of this, I'm also getting an opportunity to make sure that all of the motor units are going to function as necessary. So I did encounter a couple of problems. There were a couple of pieces that I had to fix, a couple of very, very minor details, talking about like an extra cover on the outside of a particular block, keeping it from moving. But overall, it was a fairly straightforward process. The hardest part is tracking down if something isn't working, where is the problem specifically, because I always want to go to the motor unit, and it's usually something else, because the motor units that we're using are really, really easy to diagnose. And you can see, once I get everything ironed out, it actually starts to fall into place fairly well. Mostly just moving things up and down, stacking them together before we start worrying about any kind of horizontal movement. I did 2 thorough checks on the entire structure to make sure that there weren't any exposed frames that might stick with other exposed frames and necessitate a very ugly repair job. So once everything starts kind of falling down into place, we start to get an idea of the scale for the finished build. Now, I did a lot of looking at various different screenshots of creepers to try and get an idea of how the legs scale with the torso, and basically the legs are half the height of the torso, which made it pretty easy as far as this build goes. And you can see now, with the torso assembled vertically, we're just kind of nudging things into place horizontally, that it actually does start to resemble a creeper, but that still leaves the head floating way up in the sky. And the reason we didn't move it down is because it doesn't have a motor unit in it yet. Now, this is the same motor unit that I've been using for every other block in the builds. The added advantage that the head is so much larger, it's even easier to muck about and get things done. I actually, after having assembled so many, 24 to be exact for this build, I've got it down now so I don't even have to build the upper module, the horizontal motors above the battery module and then try and squish them into place. I can just build it all into place so that it works right from the very beginning. Makes it much easier. So I've also learned that when it comes to getting these done in testing, one of the first things that it's a good idea to do is get batteries into the battery boxes, start charging up some power, so that when everything else is done, I'm not waiting on battery boxes to charge, because that's pretty anticlimactic. And I like to avoid that kind of thing whenever possible. So it goes together quickly. This one actually took quite a while because, let's just say, I've done a final count of how many frames, how many motors, how many wireless receivers have gone into this build. We are pushing the game about as hard as it is prepared to go. The final count is 300 frame motors, 150 wireless receivers, 784 advanced computer craft monitors, over 3,500 frames, and 8,300 dyed wool covers for this entire project. That's all the legs, the torso, the head, all of the things. This is actually, I had to go in and adjust the configuration for red power to allow more frames to move, specifically for the head. The head by itself had over, I think it had over 2,200 frames all by itself, maybe even more than that. It was a lot. It was a lot of frames in the head because, as I mentioned previously when we were talking about it, I had to put a frame behind every computer craft monitor. So that alone is close to 800 frames just for that. Then you've got the top, the bottom, all of the covers. Each cover counts as one block when it's adjacent to a frame. When it's on the frame, the cover and the frame count as one together. But you can see if you look at the floor, there's a bunch that are adjacent to the frames, but they're basically accounting for their own block. Many, many, many blocks. So I had to bump it up. I originally bumped it from 1,000 to 2,000. That still didn't work, so I said to hell with it. I bumped it all the way up to 5,000, and it finally started to work. And that was after about half an hour of dorking around with this motor unit, convinced that that had to be the reason why it wasn't working, because everything else structurally was so simple and straightforward. But here we have it. Everything is pushed together. Everything is in its start state, I guess you could say. It looks like a creeper now. All that remains, literally the only thing that I have left to do, is the control routines so that we can actually make this thing look like more than just a giant green creeper statue, because that would be really, really disappointing for all the time and materials we put into this thing to just say, it's done now. We'll just put some faces on the monitors and call it a day. So we have to get this thing moving. That's what I'll be investing most of my time into, is trying to automate as much of the controls as possible, because if you were to sit down and try and do it with like a wireless remote, it just wouldn't work. So I need some more Aether turtles. I've got to build those, and then I've got to start writing the routines. But you can see the monitors in place all the way around now. It's not just the one face and then partial on the other faces. It's all completely done. Everything is tested, everything moves, everything works, everything's got power. I kind of like the way the lamps turned out. The green lamps on the torso and the legs just kind of adds a little bit of visual detail, but also keeps it lit, kind of. Now, you see that spot on the torso about midway through? It's like that really dark spot with the angular bit on the bottom. That's a lighting glitch. See, there it goes. That's related to microblocks as far as I can tell, and that's why when I'm doing like a first-person record, everything looks so dark. Even when I'm playing, things look really, really dark. It's because of that lighting glitch. We love the glitches, but you know, we work around them, we work with them. So that's a giant friggin' creeper. Now, like I say, once we get this thing moving, there's all kinds of fun things that we can do. Now, in terms of practical use, there is none. Let's just get that out in the open now. There is no practical use planned for this vehicle. In terms of even just kind of goofing around use, very little. Because we're talking about a pretty complex system to get the thing moving in the first place. And when it is moving, if you're watching it real time in game, probably not going to look all that interesting. But if you were to look at it in the form of a time-lapse video, maybe, then we've got ourselves something that could be interesting. So I've already got a bunch of things planned that could be a lot of fun once they're done. And so, like I say, we're just going to get the computer craft routines into place. We're going to start testing them, and we're going to get the faces on. I think it's a lot of fun. So we've got maybe 2 more episodes left. They're going to be a little while in coming, just because it's, again, back to that place where everything that we do takes a lot of time, but doesn't really give much to show until it's more or less all done. So be a little bit longer before this thing is finally done. But in the meantime, this isn't our only project that we have on the go. We've still got the Mega Turtle. Now, I haven't forgotten about the Mega Turtle. It's still this sort of, every time I go to work on the Mega Creeper, I pass by the portal that goes to the Mega Turtle. Kind of reminds me, hey, don't give up on that guy, because we put a lot of time into it. The one thing that was troubling me about it was not having access to the charging and repair enchants that we need to keep it running for any significant length of time. That was kind of bothering me. Made it feel like a disposable project. Because the last thing I want is to run it until the wands and the picks are all basically done, and then I have to make however many more, 50, 60 more. Not really an appealing sort of thing. So I came across the Mind Factory Reloaded grinders and auto enchanters and decided to give it a go. You can see I've modified the skeleton grinder. All this down here, this mess underneath, is exactly what happens when I have to do plumbing after the fact. But it works, and just before we get too carried away showing you exactly how it works, just give you the proof of concept. That came out of about the 6th test book that I enchanted with the auto enchanter. So the auto enchanters are definitely capable of producing repair to enchants. Don't expect to see it a lot, but at least we know we can expect to see it sometime. And I'm going to get rid of these bones and arrows. They're going in the trash, because I've already got more than I will ever use. So we'll start at the top and kind of work our way down. We've replaced the golems on the floor of the grinder with grinders. Go figure. Actually, we're going to go inside to take a look at this, because that's the easiest way to show you what's going on. These blocks here are the Mind Factory Reloaded grinders. These ones are running on Minecraft Jewels. They do damage to monsters in a 5x5 area in front of them. They cannot be killed, unlike the golems that I was constantly having to replace. And instead of gathering up experience orbs and converting it to experience that we then use for whatever, these guys get monster essence, which is a liquid that we can pump into tanks. This There's somebody shooting me. Looked like it was from above. Bastard. So this is still not a safe place to be for people or columns. But you get the idea. The grinders can't be destroyed by monsters. They basically sit there, and as long as they're getting Minecraft jewels, they're killing monsters. They do gather the drops, and I'm just piping them into a void pipe because I don't need any of them. And they get the monster essence, which we can feed into our auto enchanters to produce enchants. So really, really simple, much more reliable and stable. I don't have to worry about what's going on in here. Let's get out. The one drawback, I guess you could say, is the way it's currently set up. Again, the penalty of doing things after the fact is that there are places in here where skeletons can hide and where they won't be killed. But being that it's daytime, the sun is helping us out on account of the glass ceiling. I just don't like it when they get into the foyer because there's nothing in there to kill them. So skeletons die, monster essence gets produced, piped into tanks. I originally started with this little tank just to kind of get a feel for things, realized it wasn't going to be nearly big enough, and made this guy. So now we've got 708 out of 5,500 buckets that we can store of monster essence, which is cool because I've been busy with the Mega Creeper. I haven't had a chance to finish off this system yet. So knowing that it can accumulate the essence without wasting any when it gets full has been pretty good. Now, the reason why I say I haven't finished with the auto enchanters because I haven't got an automatic feeding system and extraction system for the books. But that'll be coming at some point, and I'll just show you how these things work. It's really straightforward. There's a slot up here, the top slot. You put something in there that can be enchanted. As long as the auto enchanter has monster essence and energy, in this case Minecraft jewels, it will begin the process of enchanting it. And I'll just give you an idea. This is not a fast process. This is as fast as it goes. This is the progress bar. When it reaches 2590, it will enchant the book with a random level 30 enchant and deposit it in the lower slot. So you can, if you want lower level enchants, you can reduce this number, I guess. I don't know why anyone would necessarily want to do that, but they can. And then it's just a matter of getting books through the system, waiting on the 2590 work to complete, and hopefully extracting them automatically, storing them, coming back and looking at them. Simple, right? There's nothing complicated here. It's a machine that enchants books or tools or weapons or armor or whatever. And like anything else, you can't select the enchants that you want, but the primary motivating factor to use these is that I did a quick test and I found out that I could get a repair enchant out of it. So as long as we can get enough of those to make it worthwhile, and ideally some charging enchants as well, we'll be in business. So like I say, it's not quick, but if I expand my power plant to produce more Minecraft jewels and get my Enderman grinder set up in a similar way and pipe the monster essence to the tank via liquid tesseract, we could crank out probably a pretty substantial number of books. Main issue right now is if I have all of these auto enchanters running and the 5 mob grinders going, much less more for killing the Enderman, I will already exceed the amount of Minecraft jewels that I'm producing. So I've got plenty of steam, I've got plenty of steam production capacity. I just have to add in engines and energy tesseracts and things like that so that I can actually produce Minecraft jewels and move it around above and beyond what I've got. Now we're just about done. The moment of truth. This is like kind of like Christmas, but at the same time, Christmas is still not always a sure thing, despite the fact that we know it could be. So once it hits 2590, we'll see what we've got. We're crossing our fingers, charging or repair. I don't care what tier. 2590 projectile protection. So, I mean, like I say, I got the repair enchant after 6 books. Once I got the system automated to automatically feed books and extract the ones that are complete, I won't care how fast the machines are, because I'll be off doing other things and it'll be enchanting the hell out of all the books that I can feed it, as long as it's got monster essence and energy. So there's hope yet for the turtle. I was actually really pleased to see that repair enchant. And that's what I've been up to. So the next episode, we should have some movement routines for the Mega Creeper. He might be doing a little bit of moonwalking and some various other things. We'll have to wait and see. And maybe we'll have some books that we can use to enchant some tools for the Mega Turtle. So I hope you're enjoying. thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.